Well, hello everybody. My name is Bill Dupenthaler.
I'm Mike Conan.
And this is the Legacy Discipleship Podcast.
We get asked questions all the time about what our mission is about, and we're a disciple-making ministry. So over these next 4 episodes, we're going to talk about what does it mean to be a disciple maker, somebody who is purposefully, personally investing in other people's lives to lead them closer to the Lord. Let's dig in.
All right, well, welcome back, you guys. Bill here with my buddy Mike, and we started a series last week called, what is it, Mike? It rolls off your tongue.
Well, disciple making, the bottom line, it's purposefully and personally investing in other people's lives to lead them closer to the Lord.
Yeah, see, I love the way you say that. That's just so good. I get purposely and personally, I'm afraid I'm going to stumble around, which I kind of did right there. But anyway, last week we talked about purposefully, so being intentional about this thing, and it doesn't just happen by accident. You have to make a decision to do it. And this week we're talking about the idea that it's got to be personal. And I love this so much, this idea that discipleship is personal. It's about relationships. It's not just about passing on information. If it was just information, we'd just post a bunch of stuff on our website, which we do have stuff on our website, but that's not what it's all about.
You know, as a pastor, I would have people come into my office all the time, and they would tell me things, and some things were just, wow. And often, and when I was a young pastor, I would give them a book.
Here, take this book. It's got all the information you need.
I shouldn't laugh, but it was like that moment where you think, okay, you know, it actually was not a bad idea to give them a book, right? I mean, books are helpful, but what they probably needed more than anything was for me to give them a relationship. And part of the reason I would give them a book is if it was a woman, I didn't feel comfortable, having this kind of relationship. But then I learned over the years, what they needed was somebody who was their same gender, who would come alongside them and have a personal relationship with them. And they could talk about, those things. But boy, It's amazing how much safer it is to keep things impersonal. It's so much safer to keep things at a logical level and a business level, because then you don't face rejection, right?
Yeah.
You don't think that somebody's personally, rejecting you. They just might be rejecting your message. If all you give them is the message, then they're, if they don't like your book, then they don't like your book. But if they don't want to meet with you, or if they don't like you, then you face rejection. I think that's one of the things that is challenging about this personal part.
Yeah. Well, and I think when people think about discipling someone, I had someone ask me last week, "Hey, would you disciple me?" And awesome. It was so cool. But what does that mean? And I've still been thinking about what does that mean?
It means purposefully and personally investing in somebody else's life to lead them closer to the Lord.
Okay, that's what that means. and obviously I'm joking, but but it's he doesn't need more information. I mean, yes, you need to talk about the Bible, you need to pray together, you need to bring them to Jesus. Obviously, that's what it's about.
A little sneak preview in the next coming podcast.
Exactly. But the idea is they don't need you to just email them once a week. Here's a little bit more information.
Right.
It's about being together and sitting across the table from each other, or going for a walk, or whatever it might be.
It's giving them a taste of God.
Yeah.
You're not just telling them about God, you're trying to give them a taste of who God is, God's character. I've been thinking about God's character more than anything over these last few weeks, and I've become convinced more than ever that what people crave is God's character in us to them.
Yeah. Well, you think about greatest event in the history of the world, the incarnation, when Jesus became one of us and lived among us to of course, to save us by dying on the cross for us, but also to reveal to us the character of God, and to see who God really is, because we could experience him and know him and see him and touch him. At least they could back then, and this whole idea of the incarnation. Why didn't God just drop a bunch of flyers down from the sky in all languages and people could have just read about it? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's silly, of course, but this idea of God becoming one of us and coming to earth.
Well, and the Bible says that he was tempted in every way just as we are. Our high priest, Jesus,
Yeah.
this one who comes alongside us when we face challenges. There's something really powerful about walking side by side with somebody who has faced the same challenges that you have. And discipleship,
Yeah.
part of the core is, we're all humans. We're all sinners. We're all people who are trying to figure out how to live for God in this crazy world. And I know when we meet with guys, and I've certainly recommended a lot of people to meet with different people over the years. I always try to find them with somebody who's got a similar life to them.
Yeah.
And that's a real powerful thing.
Yeah.
If we come back to though, Bill, that word that I'm going to let you run with is, Bill, spent 40 years in Young Life. Earn the right to be heard, brother. Preach it.
Well, you just took away my line.
Did I really?
You just said, well, I'm going to let you.
Well, I was going to set you up.
Well, you set me up. No, I'm kidding. Well, yeah, that was the thing in Young Life, and it's still to this day, is this idea of earning the right to be heard.
Yeah.
It is that people respond to people that they know, and you've earned their trust.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea. We talk about building bridges of friendship. And we'll talk more about that idea later. But this idea that you got to go be with them and be with them personally and live with them and do stuff with them. And by the way, I think that discipleship. I think there's kind of this idea sometimes that maybe it's going to be boring or it's not going to be any fun. And I think that's part of the thing I really love about the whole personal side of discipleship is it can be a blast.
It should be.
It should be a blast.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it depends on your personality. If you're dealing with two engineers, maybe the blast is studying things at a depth level.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're dealing with normal people,
Normal people,
whoever that might be, I guess,
Yeah.
if there are such things, people usually do like to have fun, and there is an element to disciple making that when it's personal, people laugh. I always think that the healthiest sign of a healthy church when I walk into is when I see people laughing, because then I know that they are. There's a relational component there. Like you don't laugh together with people until you get to know them better. Usually,
Yeah.
and then when you laugh, it's really good.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Well, one of the other aspects to this personal thing, which I don't think that this can be done if it's not in person, but it's the idea of modeling for somebody what it looks like. I love in the letters throughout the New Testament, numerous times Paul says essentially, okay, if you want to know what to do, just watch me.
Yep, follow me as I follow Christ. Yeah.
Follow me as I follow Christ. Do what I do. And what an incredible challenge, because we all know that we're selfish, flawed, human beings. So in some ways, it's like, don't watch me. But in the bigger picture, with a big, huge asterisk, knowing that I'm a flawed, selfish human, still follow me as I follow Christ.
Well, you have to show before you tell. I mean,
To use a little cliche.
Yeah, we're trying to get our best cliches in here.
Yeah.
And there is that sense, especially with Gen Z. This is a big deal. They're hypocrisy sniffers, and so if they even sense, I've had this happen numerous times in the church where, you tell them one thing, but you do something else, even just one little thing where you make a mistake, they will remember it for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, you're done.
So there is something about we as we're personally interacting with people, we show them and then we tell them.
Yeah.
And then there's also that element of love too that is a key part of disciple making, because we're modeling the love of God. To get another cliche in here, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's one of my favorite cliches, frankly. I really like it. The idea of, people are not, when I was a pastor, I didn't get into a lot of trouble for doctrine, but when people didn't feel like I loved them, they would look for anything to pick apart with me. But when people felt like I loved them and cared about them, they were very open to anything that I would be willing to share with them.
Well, one of my favorite people, and he's a pastor at a local church here named Rick Enlow.
Yeah.
One of the things that Rick always said was, be the nicest person that anybody knows. Like if they ask a question, if you get asked a random question on the street, who's the nicest person you know? Oh, hands down, Mike Conan. Man, when you're around that guy, okay, well, maybe it'd be Joe Dahl. Joe Dahl's our technician, filmer, editor, the guy that makes this whole Superstar podcast. Who's the nicest guy you know? It's hands down, it's Joe Dahl. But the idea seriously is, be that person that people think of as, man, and what they mean by that is, be unselfish, be loving, and again, bringing it back around to the idea of disciple making is you're teaching your disciples to be Jesus to people, to model Jesus' life by watching you and by doing it together.
Another way to think about this is Jesus said this. This is how you're going to know this is how the world's going to know you're my disciples.
Yeah.
The way you're going to know that, the way the world is going to know that you belong to me is by the way you love each other. And if we're making disciples, this is what separates us from everybody else. It's not like you said, a downloading information time. It is that a little bit, because we'll talk about that in the upcoming podcast. But there's a sense of love. There's a sense of intentionality. There's a sense of real connection, and it's personal. And disciple making has to be personal. Thanks again for listening. And we, next time, are going to be digging into this whole idea of disciple making is not only purposeful, it's not only personal, but it also requires an investment.
That's right.
Well, thanks again for listening. We appreciate it. And we hope that this little series on disciple making encourages you as you think about becoming a disciple who makes disciples.
Yeah, and we would love it if you would support what we're doing. Check out our website, ourtruelegacy.com, and we've got all kinds of great resources for you there, and we'd love to see you jump on board supporting us. Also, thanks for being a listener and a watcher of what we're doing, and help people find out about us by liking, sharing, subscribing. Let people know about what we're doing. So thanks again, you guys, for being a part of all we're doing.